welcome to everyone. This is the Haute in Texas annual report on what the 2022 next year upcoming PR and marketing trends will be. So it's our second time doing this webinar. It was a lot of fun to look through what we were predicting last year and see what panned out, what didn't, what has completely changed gears over the past year. So again, this will be a really quick flyby of all of the things that we're seeing out in the industry with our clients, what we're recommending to them on a daily basis. And then I'd love to hear from you guys too, if you agree, if you disagree, if you want to chat about any questions you have, we'll have some time for that at the end as well. Hi, Rebecca. Good to have you joining us from Boston. Thank you so much. We're very excited to go ahead and get started. So we will kick off with just a little bit about myself. My name is Aquila Mendez-Valdez. I am the owner of Haute in Texas. We like to say that everybody here on our team is in pursuit of the Haute life. So we focus on completely customized, very high-end PR and marketing solutions for small to mid-sized businesses. And we've been doing that since about 2014, but I launched Haute in Texas originally as a blog. So it's grown quite a bit since then. We now have a fantastic team, some of which are joining us on the call today. So we call ourselves the Hitsters. We are a very small but a very dynamic team, and we really love what we do for our clients on a daily basis. So we will get into it here. Looking at the next year coming up, 2022, obviously none of us are excited about the fact that we're still talking about COVID, but it is indeed something that we're having to talk about. So drop a few thoughts in the chat if you want. Let me know, how has COVID changed things for you, for your business? What are some of the questions that you have about PR and marketing? And then are you looking to make a change? Is there something that you feel like you need to be doing better in 2022? Is there something you need to stop doing in 2022? So if there are any specific questions that I can answer, I'd be happy to do that. So first, sort of like big recommendations, the things that we're sort of seeing at a very high level that are coming down the pipeline and that we want to make sure to implement with our clients just as much as you want to implement with your brand or your clients if you're an agency as well. The first thing that we're really seeing is this movement towards reactive content versus proactive. So what do I mean by that? Essentially what we're talking about there is instead of having your online presence talking about yourself, about your products, about the things that you want people to pay attention to, let's turn that around a little bit to be more reactive to what's happening in the world and what's happening as trends are coming and going on social media as well. So what are the things that you see other people sharing, other people jumping into that you can gear towards your brand, your voice, your messaging, and be an effective way to participate? So I'll give you an example. We had just here in San Antonio this past week, the UTSA football team was playing in the Conference USA Championship. And it was a big deal for UTSA, big deal for San Antonio. And they asked the entire city to go orange in support of UTSA. So it would be one thing for us to say, oh, our clients aren't necessarily in the sports world, not a big deal. But because we have clients that are very local, very, sensitive to the San Antonio community, we ask them to immediately go ahead and either send us a photo of them in UTSA gear, tell us about how they relate to the UTSA community, wear some orange, have their signs outside of their businesses in support of UTSA, and really sort of jump into this reactive moment that was happening in San Antonio. So as much as we PR and social media people love to be able to plan content and know in advance, a month ahead what we're going to be posting, you also have to really think in 2022, how can I give myself that flexibility to also be able to schedule and post reactive content in the moment that has that ability to really tap into a whole new set of audience that you may not be reaching with just your own followers. Second thing that we're seeing is the not only rise of TikTok, but really the establishment of TikTok as a platform that you 90% of the time need to be on. Even this time last year, we were talking about Clubhouse, we were talking about TikTok, we were talking about all these different platforms that we felt like were, doing a good job of sort of gaining traction. TikTok has far and away established themselves over the past year as not just a brand for teeny boppers, not just a brand for dancing and silly, goofy pranks and things like that, but really as a broad audience. And the other thing that I think is interesting with TikTok is that the conversation around the algorithm, whereas on Facebook and Instagram, we see the algorithm being talked about in a negative light. But TikTok has sort of changed that conversation to be about the algorithm bringing you all of this very highly, highly curated content that you're going to love. So whereas people get frustrated on Facebook and Instagram, at the moment, they have this attitude towards TikTok that you can be on the quote unquote side of TikTok that is the most appealing to you, that your audience will be the most excited about consuming that content. So we love to see that. We love to see how some of our clients can go ahead and tap into that trend of jumping on TikTok and seeing, what that content can do for their company. And the other thing that has really been sort of a, overall impact of TikTok is the shift away from any horizontal video and into more vertical videos. Whether you're posting that on TikTok or you're posting that on Reels or you're even posting that on other platforms, vertical is really our strongest recommendation for clients now. It used to be that you were always begging people to, film things horizontal, please horizontal. But if you think about it, nowadays people are watching everything primarily on their mobile phones, and they're watching it as they're holding it vertically, not twisting it horizontal to watch for the most part, unless they're consuming maybe long form content, something that's, something they're going to sit back and watch for 5, 10, 15 minutes. But that's very rare. For the most part, we're taking in content, holding our phones vertical. So start filming all of your video content if you haven't already in that vertical format as well. The next trend that we're seeing, we actually did talk a little bit about last year in our talk, and it was something that we were starting to see in China and more popular in Asian countries. And now we've seen it sort of go a little bit more global. So the concept of live stream shopping, not just being able to purchase something on an Instagram shop, but really being able to connect with a brand in a live format where they're still giving you shoppable items in the middle of that live stream feed. And folks are able to feel like, almost like they're in sort of like a QVC segment where I'm showing you the earrings, I'm looking at the earrings, I can talk to you about the earrings, and then there's that link right there within the live stream to be able to actually go ahead and make that purchase. So look for that if you work with e-commerce brands, or if you are an e-commerce brand, be on the lookout for that trend to continue to grow. Not only on your owned platforms, but also if you're working with influencers. Are you doing an Amazon live stream where they can talk about it on their channels on Amazon, but have those shoppable Amazon links right there within it? It's a really, really interesting way, and something that we're watching a lot for our retail clients. The next thing I'll say is brand activism. So again, last year, end of 2020, we were talking about going into 2021, everybody wants to know, what is your stance on things? Where do you stand on, human rights issues? Where do you stand on political issues? If you feel like you have a strong stance, you should be sharing that. Now, a year later, I think what we have seen is a little bit of the pendulum swinging from, do you have that sort of front and center all the time that you're talking about, or is it something that you are doing because you believe in it and you're not necessarily tooting your own horn all the time to say, hey, we're launching this really diverse campaign. Maybe we just launch the diverse campaign and then we let folks notice and take a grip of that and say, oh, okay, they obviously have this brand activism at the core of what they do, not just as a performance based sort of tactic. So that inconspicuous brand activism, are we doing the things that we believe in without necessarily making a grand announcement or press release about it? And is that even a more effective way to convey your values to your audience without being quite so in their face? The last trend that I will say is radio silence. I don't know how many of you follow or know the brand Lush Cosmetics. They're pretty much known for their bath bombs, but they also do a whole host of other beauty products and things like that. They made waves in the PR and marketing world just a couple weeks ago when they announced that they will no longer be on any social media platforms whatsoever. They said, in their opinion, that they feel like they're always promoting self-care, promoting, taking care of yourself as sort of one of their core values. And they, in their statement, said they feel like asking their followers, their fans, their customers to come to them on platforms that are not necessarily good for their mental health at this time is not aligning with their values. So they have stated that they will stay off of social media in its entirety until they feel like it is a healthier place for their consumers to be. That is a huge, huge statement for a primarily retail brand to say that they are not going to be on social media at all. So it'll be very interesting to see how that works for them. It'll be very interesting to see if other brands follow suit. But I have to say, I'm very curious to see how that goes and if it turns into a larger trend over the next year. So again, any questions for me, please do let me know. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And I will kind of try to keep an eye on that as I am toggling back and forth. All right, so next up, I will head over here to our next thought of how media pitching will evolve in 2022. So we do a lot of media relations here at Haute, Texas. It is one of our core services. And as everyone knows, the landscape of media has been under quite a bit of stress in the last 2 years. So all of that industry continues to evolve really rapidly, and we are doing our best to keep up with it. Last year, we talked about human interest stories. Are there feel-good stories? How are you handling COVID? How are you overcoming COVID? And really what we see now, a lot of the pitches that we're finding get picked up or have interest from reporters have to do with crypto, with NFT, or with the metaverse. So if you have clients that are in that space, the media is actively searching and excited about those 3 particular topics. If not, there's obviously still opportunity, of course, but those are certainly the areas that I think PR will have its biggest areas for opportunity to pitch to media that are really, really thrilled to hear about the forerunners in those industries. I think the best part about having a PR professional step into those client spaces with you in the crypto, the NFT, the sort of virtual reality metaverse world is that it's a very complicated topic. All 3 of those really are very complicated. So I think our job as PR and marketing professionals will really be to decide, how do we tell those stories in a way that the general public will understand, but also gets across the true technicality, the true, advanced level that these particular trends are going to bring for our economy, for the brand, for the customer. So be paying attention to that. If you have not read up yet on the crypto world, NFTs, things like that, I would highly recommend at least educating yourself on the baseline so that if opportunities come about for you in those departments, you're able to have those conversations. The third thing I'll say is podcasts, I think, are still a very potent thing to pitch for your clients. They're a great way to show thought leadership. They're very open to those guest spots, and they're actively searching for those guest spots. So podcasts, I think, will remain a really strong media category for any media relations efforts. So if you don't follow podcasts, if you don't know what sort of podcast would appeal for your client, that research, that media database is getting stronger and stronger every day. So I would definitely recommend checking that out. The next thing I'll say is when we are pitching to clients and we can provide, or I'm sorry, when we're pitching for clients to the media rather, when we are doing that pitching, if we can give them a media kit that has not just, logos, photos, things like that, but if it also has B-roll, if it also has images, if it has white papers, if it has additional content that those reporters can then take and get to their article, get to their content so much faster, we see a lot of a higher success rate in pitching overall. So if your clients are sort of balking at the idea of investing in having something like B-roll prepped and ready, or having a really nice professional photography bank ready to go, I would definitely encourage you to tell them that that rate of success will be so much higher if media is able to see that you've already done the work for them. All they have to do is go ahead and run with that story. Next to last here is LinkedIn. I talked about LinkedIn a lot last year as just a general social media platform that I thought and still feel is doing a great job of growing and giving people that organic reach that they're really lacking in Facebook and Instagram. But now I would add to that LinkedIn is also a great opportunity to connect with reporters, particularly business reporters. I think they are actively seeing that they can post their own content and get more eyeballs on their articles if they post it from their LinkedIn profiles. And then you have the opportunity to interact with them, say, that was a fantastic article. I absolutely love that. Hey, what do you think about possibly covering and you've opened up that opportunity, maybe more so than their Instagram profile, or maybe they're not really interested in hearing pitches via an Instagram DM. Maybe their Twitter's already overwhelmed, or they're just tired of being on that platform. But if they're on LinkedIn, if they're actively sharing that content, it's a great way to make some connections, particularly with national level reporters that are absolutely inundated with email pitches, obviously. And then the last thing that I'll say in terms of media pitching is this trend of brand publication. So I mentioned Lush Cosmetics taking a step away from social media earlier. What they are actually going to be doing, and what some other platforms or brands, I should say, are planning to do, is launch a consumer magazine for their brand. So everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but at least my generation probably remembers opening the Delia's magazine and being able to go through and get that every month and feel like you were checking out all of the cool bell bottoms, all of the, crop tops, the things that are now back in trend. That magazine was such a great way for us to connect with their brand when we didn't have things like Instagram or Facebook to connect with them on. So I think we're going to see more brands choosing to do mailed publications, and that may be an opportunity too if they're wanting to make it more content driven versus purely just a catalog of products. Maybe they're going to need content there. Maybe they're going to need some, thought leaders in their space or makers in their space that they want to highlight and share about. So just keep an eye on that. I think it's something definitely to be watching for and see if there's some opportunities there. So again, please let me know if there's any questions. We're going to keep moving through here. And we are on to influencer marketing. So we talked about social media. We talked about media relations. Influencer marketing is sort of this very niche space that we happen to sort of specialize in here at Haute in Texas. Because I started as a blogger, it's a lot of fun for us to craft influencer marketing campaigns for brands, because we sort of understand both sides of it, because we know what the influencers are looking for. We know what the brands are looking for in terms of ROI. It's a huge market and it's growing super, super fast, that more and more brands are understanding how potent and powerful that organic digital word of mouth can be. And it's only going to continue growing. You can look up the stats on what the estimates in terms of the influencer marketing economy are going to be in terms of growth, but it's staggering. It's absolutely in the billions. So I don't see that going anywhere. I think that the only thing that we will see in terms of influencer marketing is perhaps shifts in priorities or shifts in the way that we think about influencer marketing, but the tactic as a whole is here to stay. So trends in terms of influencer marketing. First up, I think we're going to see more often the way that we were talking about reactive versus proactive content. I think we're going to see more of brands picking up the one-off viral influencer. So if you're on TikTok, you may have seen earlier this year the crayon raspberry guy on the skateboard that totally went viral because he just shared a video of himself rolling down a street on a skateboard and just happened to be drinking ocean spray crayon raspberry. That went completely bananas in terms of views. Everybody was imitating it. Everybody was creating that same sort of vibe with their product or with their, mascot. It just went absolutely nuts. But that actual influencer, the first man who shared his video, is now considered an influencer. He's now been picked up by Ocean Spray. He's now has these product, posts that he'll share and talk about sponsored content. So keeping an eye out for those people who are very much not trying to become an influencer, but they happen to step on these very reactive moments of viral content. And how can we swoop in and connect with them, partner with them, sort of ride that wave, however long it may last. To be able to, garner that additional brand awareness for your clients. Next up, influencers have always been known for promoting products of other companies, other brands, but I think more influencers that are able to sort of build their own identity online will start turning to the option of being able to have their own merch and tapping into this e-commerce trend, which everybody knows e-commerce, being able to jump on your computer and shop. M-commerce is this sort of new-ish concept of mobile commerce. So not just shopping online, but specifically when people are shopping on their phones, which they're doing more and more and more often. How do we cater to those people? How do we make sure that those people are having a good experience? So influencers, because they know everyone is following them from their phones, have a really good sense of how to make that super simple for their followers. And they know that this merch, being able to drop ship, being able to create their own product, their own lines, is a far more profitable option than just schlepping the products of other people, right? So I think we'll see that trend continue to grow. I don't think it's going anywhere. And I think influencers are getting really, really smart that they can take a 10% cut of this sale, or they can have their own content that will drive so much more revenue for them as creators. So keep an eye out on that and see if maybe, particularly if you are a retail brand, can you white label things for influencers? Can you create a line for them that then they can share it and you're doing more of a profit share option versus purely affiliate? So lots of ideas there, lots of opportunities. The next thing I'll say in terms of influencer marketing, if you're not in that world, you may have missed or may have not seen yet that Like to Know It, formerly Like to Know It, now known as LTK, announced that they had a major investment of funding and capital from SoftBank Vision Fund. That is going to be very interesting to watch over the next year and see how that changes their strategies and what sort of new products they roll out for creators, and then how that sort of ripple affects all of the other influencer networks. LTK, Reward Style, Like to Know It, whatever you want to say, is by far the leader right now. They have been for several years. And so for them to have this major investment from a venture capital fund, I think is a huge indicator that influencer marketing is going to continue to see that growth and going to continue to see innovation in the field as well. So keep an eye on that. Let's be, keeping tabs on how they evolve and what that means for all of us in creating influencer marketing campaigns. The next trend that we see is actually one that I see in particular on my side as we're having people approach the Haute in Texas blog for collaborations, that more and more often when we're seeing pitches come in from brands, they're actually not as interested in seeing us post content on our platforms. They purely just want that UGC. So UGC stands for User Generated Content. All they want is that user generated content, and they're not even concerned with the fact that we do or do not share it on our own channels. They want us to send them that content right off the bat then they can populate it on their channels, whether it's in paid advertising, whether it's organic, however they want to use it. They're primarily interested in just receiving the content. So I think that's definitely a trend in terms of influencers, mainly for micro and nano influencers, where perhaps it's not necessarily the size of your audience, but just getting that sort of brand credibility going for you on your clients' channels because you have all of this UGC content that you're posting. So definitely very interesting, definitely something to watch out for. The next thing that I will say is diversity first campaigns. So again, we talked about the more inconspicuous brand activism. And when it comes to influencer marketing, it should be the exact same way, not necessarily making a grand announcement that you're looking for a diverse audience for your influencer campaign, but simply doing it because it's the right thing to do and then letting your audience figure it out for themselves. So how are we looking at searching for influencers? Are we making sure that we have a diverse set of voices, a diverse set of appearances, a diverse set of sexual orientation? Across the board, when it comes to demographics, you want to make sure that you're not pigeonholing yourself into a certain category, even if you think that that is just your target market with those particular set of people. Why not make sure that you're including a wide range of influencers regardless of the target market, so that you are potentially reaching new markets at the same time that you're able to hit your sort of core demographic. So make sure to think about that as you're pulling influencers. The other thing that you do not want to do, obviously, is create any sort of controversy. And we have all seen the influencer campaigns that have gotten rolled out, and it is far too monotonous when you're looking through the influencers that they have selected. And not only is that not advantageous to you, it can actually be a huge, huge risk averse moment for you if you are opening yourself up to that sort of criticism. So be sure that you're thinking through that as you're planning influencers. Communicate that as you're sending influencers for approval to your brands that you work with. Communicate why you chose the influencers you did, why you think it's important to have them be a part of it. Brands are looking for you to advocate for the influencers that you feel will be the most effective. So if diversity is important to you, which it should be, make sure that you're communicating that with your clients so they understand the importance as well. And the last thing that I'll say here for influencer marketing is that we're seeing across the board as well a little bit more efficient paid budgets. I don't want to say that paying creators for their content is going away, and nor should it. By all means, there are still budgets to pay influencers. There are still budgets to pay creators. But what we're seeing is that brands are maybe feeling some budget constraints on their side. And so when they are looking at how they spend that value or that budget for influencers, they're perhaps choosing to spend on less creators that they think will give them more value. So instead of paying 500 influencers $10, let's pay our top 50 a higher dollar value. I'm not going to try to do that math in my head right now. Let's pay them a higher value and really bank on that core audience. So perhaps we start with a wide product launch. We see who's excited about it. We see who shares it. And then we go into long-term campaigns with the influencers that we feel like have really driven value or are really great fits for that particular client. So again, maybe less creators, maybe more value. And I think part of that is a reflection of the economy as a whole. Marketing budgets are, doing well. They're not being slashed entirely, but they're being watched. And so, higher ups, C-suite, they want to know for sure that if we're going to spend money on influencers, we're going to see a return on that investment. So on the flip side, if you consider yourself an influencer, be sure that you're really going above and beyond and you're showing value for the client. Not only should you be meeting the deliverables of the campaign without any sort of trouble or hiccups, but be sure that you're showing your appreciation, you're showing that you're excited for the opportunity to work with that brand. And I think that really goes a long way in developing those long-term partnerships for sure. All right, let me go ahead and switch over here. We're gonna take a little breather. I know we're about halfway through with our presentation so far, so I wanna make sure I give you guys a chance to tell me if you've got any questions, what you're thinking right now. So let me go ahead and switch over here so I can make sure if we have any questions. So yeah, any thoughts so far? We've chatted through a lot. We've gone through social media. We've talked about media relations. We've talked about influencer marketing. Any questions for me so far? Go ahead and either type them in the chat or you're welcome to unmute if you'd like as well. Any questions for me? I see we've got Melissa on here. Hi, Melissa. How are you doing? Adriana's on here, one of my former students. Hi, Adriana. How are you?
I'll jump in with a question, Aquila.
Oh, hold on, Melissa. Hang on just a second here.
Sure.
Melissa, can you hear me?
Yes, yes. Oh,
okay.
So, I mean, it's interesting. I feel like there's a lot of iteration and innovation going into next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So far from what you've shared, like what seems like it's the most fundamental must? Like this seems like you really should consider in 2022.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, I think honestly, I really think taking a hard look at joining TikTok for your clients that you're doing social media management, taking a really good look at whether or not they should join TikTok. I think it's really scary for like the social media managers who have been really comfortable in like Facebook, Instagram, Twitter for a long time, and they feel like I'm scared to go ahead and, you know, talk about TikTok, or I'm scared to like start posting on TikTok. I feel like I'm not good at it. I don't know what I'm doing. But I think the PR and marketing professionals that go ahead and take a chance now and learn it and figure it out and give it a shot with their clients, fully letting their clients know, hey, this is kind of the wild, wild west. We're giving this a shot, but let's be prepared that we're going to, you know, have some times where things are, you know, a little bit dicey perhaps with results. Nothing's guaranteed on social anyways, but, you know, I think for sure the people who take those chances now with TikTok versus still waiting back, still waiting to see, you know, there's that open window right now, I think, where Instagram was before, you know, where you could go in and you could grow pretty quickly. That's where TikTok is now. So are you taking advantage of that with your clients or not?
Yeah, get that grandfathered open algorithm while you can.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I know. It definitely is, you know, like I said, it's the wild, wild west for sure. But yeah, good question. All right, so let's jump back in here. I'm gonna go ahead and share our next screen. And let's see, we will go here. Just got a little bit longer, so hang tight with us. And like I said, we'll have plenty of time for questions at the end as well. All right, so kind of a grand wraparound here. How are brands successfully connecting with their audiences, even in continued turmoil, whether it's the pandemic that we're talking about, whether it's the economy? There's all sorts of things going on in the world that are, you know, creating this sense of crisis even now, you know, 2 years later. So how are you connecting with your audience? How are you taking the chance on these new tactics that might pay off for you in the long run? Number one, I think the brands that are really doing a great job with experiential marketing, even online, you know, we used to think of experiential marketing as purely just, you know, going to an event and seeing some sort of like, you know, moment or activation, or maybe there's a virtual reality component, things like that. But even within like the online component, how are we creating an experience for our marketing campaigns? Whether that's something interactive for them to be a part of. Like, for example, I saw, you know, just the other day I was on my, you know, Hulu or, you know, I think it was Hulu. I was watching a show, and right off the bat, one of the ads had, you know, click here to, you know, get more information, or, you know, it was like with my TV remote, I could go ahead and like interact with the ad more than just seeing it come across my screen and then it flies away and I forget all about it. So how can we go to that next step with our customers or with our audience to say, you know, we're not just shouting at you, we're wanting you to interact with us. We're wanting you to have an experience when you are taking those 10, 15, 20 seconds, whatever attention span you can get from them. Are we giving them an experience? Are we giving them a moment where they feel like they actually get to connect with us, versus just being, you know, confronted with information and then you're gone? The next thing that I think is a lot of fun for me, but it definitely terrifies people as well, is to bring a little bit of humor and levity to the moment. That's one of the biggest things that I think is fascinating to see brands on TikTok doing, is that they're not acting as if they're a brand. They're acting as if they're just a person jumping on TikTok trends or commenting the same, you know, there's certain, you know, phrases and sentences and trends on TikToks in the comment section that are really commenting or that are really popular. And you'll see brands on any sort of viral content, brands coming in and making those quick, witty, you know, sometimes kind of snarky comments. And so I think that's really fascinating to see brands sort of, and we're talking about national, global level brands here, being willing to sort of open up a little bit, be a little bit more human and not so, you know, we need to have this wall between us. We need to make sure everything is polished and perfect. Some of these national, global level brands, it would be very surprising to me if their person running their TikTok was over 25. I mean, they're very clearly giving the reins to, you know, people who understand TikTok, and they're willing to let them sort of just run wild with it. So don't be afraid to be funny. Don't be afraid to bring some wit to what you're talking about. I think people a lot of times are joining social media just to get a break, just to get any sort of, you know, relief from the heaviness of the world. And so if your account, your place is a place of, you know, if you don't feel like humor is your thing, that's fine. But is it a place of lightheartedness? Is it a place of positivity? Is it a place of joy? You know, help bring that light and love and happiness to your audience's world, so that then they feel like you're just a really good friend that makes them smile. You're a good friend that makes them laugh, versus feeling like, yeah, no, I know they're wanting me to buy that widget. I know, I get it. You know, people are certainly, and deservedly so, very much over that. All right, so next thing I'll say, you know, we've talked a lot about diversity, we've talked a lot about inclusion, but climate change as well is something that, you know, more and more consumers are looking to make sure whether or not your brand is taking that seriously. So again, it doesn't have to be a giant announcement, it doesn't have to be a giant press release, but are you taking steps in the day-to-day operations of your business to figure out how you can, you know, contribute to making our planet a better place, to, you know, combating climate change. So certainly take it seriously, certainly be aware of the areas of your client's business. Oh, go ahead. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Maybe we had a mute situation. So yeah, maybe we, you know, don't necessarily have a brand that is traditionally thought of as sustainable. Well, how do we, you know, hedge against that risk? And how do we decide, hey, we're going to have some messaging in place to be prepared for if and when we are criticized for our role in climate change? That's definitely something you want to be evaluating, and definitely something you want to be sure to have an honest and open conversation. You know, yes, we're aware of it. Yes, we know this is the steps that we're taking, and be prepared for more and more people to be questioning your role in that, in a wide variety of industries. And then the next and final point that I will say is to really make an effort to hire a diverse team. Whether you are a company on your own running your PR and marketing, whether you are an agency that's watching this today, you know, thinking through PR and marketing strategies, as you're looking to hire, as you're looking to bring in people, which a lot of companies right now are hiring, I really think hiring a diverse team is going to pay off in the long run, no matter what industry you're in. And consumers, audiences are really looking for that too. If you're sharing a group shot of your entire company and everybody looks like they could be related, or everybody looks like they came from the same town, or something like that, that is going to be, a red flag for some consumers. That's going to be seen as a little bit of an off-putting factor for them. So do you have that, diversity within your own team, so that not only do you have voices within your company that are diverse and can bring up diverse perspectives and standpoints, but you can also connect to your audience in a deeper and more meaningful way, to really make sure they feel like you understand them, you understand their concerns, and you have that priority within your own company, as much as you're asking your clients and your brands to be taking those steps as well. So that is the presentation for today. We moved through it pretty quickly, but again, my name is Aquila. If you have any questions, I'd love to chat with you either after the fact. You can reach out via our social media, or visit our website. We just launched our new website at hitpr.com this past fall. And we still have the blog up and running, but they are now 2 separate sites. So that helps us keep things sorted a little bit. But this is some of our team here. This is Leah, Priscilla, myself, Jesse, and Susan. We are all, actually everybody here is located in San Antonio, but we have some additional team members that are all over the country, and even in Europe now. So I am excited to kind of use all of these tactics that we're talking about today with them, with our clients in the upcoming year. And I'm also really curious to hear, what you guys think. If it's something that you use, please do let me know how it works, what you think. And then, we'll obviously, hopefully be back here in a year and be talking about what went well, what was different, and what we can do better. So thank you guys so much for your time. If anyone has any questions, by all means, feel free to unmute, or go ahead and drop that in the chat. And I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. So I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. Yeah, go ahead. Did we have somebody unmuting?
Yeah. Hi. I had a question. So I was actually interested to learn a little bit more about the reactive content. So right now we're doing a lot of podcasts where I'm currently at, and I was just wondering, like, can you give me an example how I would be able to use like podcasts to deliver more like a proactive sort of way instead of reactive instead of a proactive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So podcasts are definitely, a little bit trickier. There's definitely some, editing involved, obviously. So you're trying to, turn things around in a really quick way. But there's a lot of great podcasts that do cover, current events and kind of give a roundup at the end of the week of what happened and what's going on in the world. So I would say, even if you're looking at, your podcast running once a week, being able to talk and react and engage with things that have happened in the past week is still a good way to, tap into that trend. It's not as perfect as being able to turn around and, get something reacted within an hour, but the fact that you can, be able to tap into it at some point with your regular schedule of content would be enough, and would be still a better step than just acting like nothing else is happening in the world in general. So does that make sense, Ozzy?
Yeah, it does. Thank you so much for answering that question.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I see a couple questions here, or I guess comments. So Kay, you are very welcome. Absolutely. Super glad to see you on here. Thank you so much for joining, and good luck with your meal prep business. If you have any questions specific to your business, please let me know. I'd love to help in that department. That's a very hot industry right now. So I wish you the best of luck. Tammy said, thank you. And you're currently in the job market again. Okay, awesome. So doing marketing, and this helped you learn some new ideas and trends. Awesome. I'm super excited to hear that, Tammy. I hope you land somewhere absolutely fabulous and certainly wish you the best of luck in your job hunt. There's definitely a lot of opportunities available right now. So I have no doubt you'll land somewhere very quick, very soon. Jessica says, trends in the nonprofit space. That's a great question. You know, we have a couple clients that are in the nonprofit space. We've worked with a lot of nonprofits, you know, over the course of the past 7 years. I would say, you know, nonprofits are certainly in a tricky position right now because they're still, unfortunately, having to deal with, do we have a virtual gala? Do we have an in-person gala? How do we handle, you know, fundraising in the age of a pandemic? But the, you know, nonprofits that I think are doing the best jobs are the ones that are giving people the most options. As hard as that is for you, as, you know, someone who works in the nonprofit space, to have to essentially do 2-3 times the amount of work. I think, you know, being able to give people the format that they're the most comfortable with, whether it's online or it's in person, is definitely still going to be the way to go for nonprofits. But the experiential, I think, is something like we talked about there at the very, very end. Experiential marketing for nonprofits, I think, is huge, to really, you know, immerse your donors in what it looks like to support your nonprofit, or what does that do for your nonprofit when they give. So how can you sort of share that experience with them? How can you, you know, take that to the next level of not just sending them something to say thank you, but how do we really convey that story with them, so that there's no question of how far those dollars went. There's no question of how effective it was. So as much tracking, as much data you can gather to really be able to have the data to back that up, would help you to be able to determine, you know, the best way to then showcase that with your donors, or potential donors. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that's at least a little tidbit from the nonprofit area. Jennifer says, thank you. You're so welcome, Jennifer. I appreciate you tuning in. This is always a lot of fun for me, but I definitely need to, you know, I'd much rather be doing these in person, versus just talking to a screen for an hour. So thank you guys for bearing with me and tuning in. But any other questions for me? If you have any, feel free to email me or let me know on Instagram or Facebook. You're welcome to reach out. I'd be happy to help you guys. So awesome.
Hi, this is Adriana.
Hi,
so
Adriana.
nice to meet you again, by the way.
Yeah,
I don't want to show my
likewise.
video because I don't look the best at the moment working home from home today. But
no problem.
Going back to making sure that we're inserting the humor aspect to the marketing strategies, I now work for a digital marketing agency, and a couple of our clients does include social media management in their proposals. So there are times where I will talk to the clients that, you know, like humanizing the company is very important in their social media strategy. And anytime I do bring that up, they kind of, you know, tilt their head a little bit or scratch their head, because of course we want to make sure that we're increasing revenue and promoting the business and, you know, promoting the products and services that they offer. But I guess like on a professional or like an agency point of view, how would you communicate that message, that the importance of humanizing the company to that client, to ensuring that you're reaching your full potential on reaching your target audience?
Yeah. The easiest way that we do that with our clients, because we get that pushback all the time too. I really don't want to show my face. I really don't want to be on video. I really don't want to have to, I mean, it takes commitment too for them to take the time to give or to create the content with you that has that human element, right? It's a lot easier to share a stock image of a product versus taking the time to create a video with your client, right?
Right.
But the best thing that we do and the most effective is to show them in their analytics report every single month, here was your top post. This is what did the best. And every single time it's the posts that show them or show their, you know, their human aspect, or they're vulnerable, or they tell a story. Every single time. It's not the posts that are the sort of standard, you know, professional, let's put a wall between us and the client, the customer, right?
Exactly.
So it sounds like you're definitely, you know, dealing with a little bit more, you know, there's like the DISC personality assessment, and there's like the dominant personalities. And if you're dealing with those dominant personalities, they really want to know, like, what's the numbers, what's the results, you know, show me in a very like logical way. And that's the easiest way to show them, is just take a chance. This, you know, give me 30 days, give me 60 days of sharing that humanizing type of content, and let me show you how much further it goes versus what you are, you know, thinking might be the best way to go in a gentle way.
Yes, perfect. Because I try to want to let them know in the nicest way possible that, you know, consistently selling on social media doesn't always sell.
Yeah.
And we try to steer clear of them looking or sounding too salesy on their social media.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to do, because a lot of times your goal as the marketing team is going to be, you know, being able to drive sales. But at the same time, you have to also be able to push back and say, you know, there's very few people that want to be sold to on social media, right? They don't want to feel like they're being sold to. They don't want to feel like a post is salesy. So the other thing that we always try to do in our copy is to focus on the consumer. And a lot of times what you'll hear is the consumer, or the, you know, buyer is the hero. They're the hero of everything that you do. And so you should always be telling that hero's journey. You can do a lot more research on the hero's journey in general for marketing and copywriting and everything. But keeping them at the center of your story and telling, you know, what's the problem that our hero has? How are we as the company helping you solve that problem? And then what's your like happily ever after for that client, or for that, you know, buyer, if they go ahead and go with you, so that you're not necessarily, again, shouting at the user, buy our stuff, but you're telling this story of how we can help you, how we can solve your pain points, how we can go ahead and make your life easier, versus any other sort of copy that just feels like they can see right through it in a millisecond, right?
Right. Yes. And sometimes, or usually it's always straight to the point. It's always at the very end of the copy. Call us now at blah, 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 blah for a free estimate or free quotes.
Yeah. And I don't mind a good CTA. Like, I'm not saying you should never have a call to action in your copy. That is definitely, you know, something that you need to also be, you know, direct at the end of the day with people, that if they do want more information, or if they do want to purchase, here's where. But if our first sort of like lines of copy don't hook them in and make them see why they should care, then they're not going to get to the CTA part, right? So we always try to have that first, you know, hook, that first moment that we catch their eyeballs, be about them, or about, you know, invoking emotion, something like that. And then we've got them enough interested to where they care about the CTA.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you. Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Congrats on the new role. I'm super excited for you.
Thank you.
All right. Yeah. Melissa's also saying that you can see a difference in a humanized post almost immediately. Absolutely. And for sure, feel confident in telling your clients that it's okay if it's not perfect. It doesn't have to be, you know, Oscar worthy video. It doesn't have to be a, you know, Pulitzer Prize winning photo. It can be a very real, authentic, genuine piece of content that just engages with people in a way that they want to be engaged with. And that'll do better than the most, you know, professional or exquisite quality type of content. So take a chance on it, be able to show them the data afterwards. And then 9 times out of 10, you'll be able to convince them to move forward with that strategy long term. And then just let us know how we can help you, how we can support you. That is absolutely what it's all about in the PR and marketing world. Bye, y'all. Thank you so much. Appreciate your time, and we will talk to you soon.